Welcome back to my channel. I'm Dylan Shearsby. I'm a storyboard artist working in film and TV, and this is just a little experiment. I'm drawing a bunch of shots from the classic action movie Heat, the sort of bank robbery, gunfight sort of scene. It's just part of my sort of daily practice at the moment. So yeah, I'm just doing another one of those today, and I'm just going to jump straight into it. Alright, so we've got this Tom Sizemore character here. This is near the start of the scene where they're all getting set up in their positions. I don't even know if I'm going to bother to rough here. I think I'm just going to like start sketching. So I'm just going to, sort of block in his rough size here. You can see I've got this sort of crosshairs set up that just helps me get positioning since I'm trying to actually work off an existing shot. Something like that. Kind of a stooping pose here. I don't know if I've left enough room for his head. Let's see. It's actually closer like that. I probably should have done a rough, but that's all right. I'll work it out. I think this is okay. If I run out of room, I can always make him smaller. All right, I'm gonna focus on the focal point here and draw his face before I get into anything else. And with this shot, there was actually an A shot that comes before this, but it's like a camera wipe of a foreground figure crossing frame. So I'm actually going to do the A frame after this secondary frame, which is the, kind of the landing point. All right, I'm really trying to keep these loose and not too fiddly, so I don't want to spend long on his face. A bit of shadow on the side of the nose there. His eyelid is kind of a little bit droopy, a bit sly looking, so I'm trying to capture that. Normally when drawing storyboards, if a character's this small in frame, you would not spend too long on their face, but it's the only difference with drawing from an existing well-known film like this is that I've got to spend a little bit more time trying to make it look something like the characters. I don't have to look exactly like them, but a little bit. I think I've made his nose a bit too long. Something like that will do. In his mouth. Don't know if I'm really nailing any likeness yet, but I won't know until I sort of have the more structure in the face. All right. He's got quite a round face. And shaved head. I feel like my drawing is starting to look a bit more like some old Renaissance-y portrait of a old nobility or something. I think though, once I've got the sort of hint of the shaved head in, it's gonna come together a bit. Got these kind of bags under his eyes a bit that just adding them I think helped a little bit. All right, definitely spending a lot more time on this than I would on an actual storyboard frame. It's got sort of a thin ear. Alright, at least I've managed to place everything about right, proportionally, I think. Doesn't fully look like Tom Sizemore, but it's kind of, for a wider, further away shot like this, I think it's okay. Alright, get into his clothes and stuff now. Yeah, I've made him look too old somehow. Let's see if I can rectify that. He should look sort of a little chubby faced, but not too old. I think getting some darkness into his hair, although his hair in this shot I can't tell, but it almost does look like it's already grey. Maybe I need to thin out his neck a little. I think this might be just one of those days where nothing I do is quite giving me what I want in terms of trying to get the likeness on this face. I think thinning up the front of his face here is maybe going to help. That's a little bit better. Still looks a little like Alexei Sayle or something now, but yeah. Alright, I'm obsessing about this way too much. Let's leave it there. Let's zoom back out and kind of get his, you never know, getting his shape of his figure in there might help. Just crosshairs back in just to help with my proportions. Alright, just drawing some fabric folds and stuff now. That might be the other reason why it's looking a bit funny, is I think I've got him just looking a little too big. Alright, he's gloved already. Got these black gloves on and he's pretending to like hold some paperwork or something. Which means these can be solid black. Paper. And got his suit. Comes down to about here. At the very least, I hope it's kind of relaxing to just watch and listen along to these videos. Kind of decided to make these videos because I really enjoyed Adrian Smith's real-time drawing videos. You know, it's not about really watching him do the whole process, it's just about kind of, I don't know, relaxing while someone else does something difficult. And yeah, I've been drawing for years, and I wouldn't say that this is an easy task that I'm doing, but I like challenging myself when it comes to drawing. All right. I actually just realized, I think one thing that might help get this likeness is he's got actually decently pronounced eyelashes. Yeah, that's actually helped a bit. Yeah, it's added to the intensity of the eyes. All right, well there you go. It's always something funny that makes a likeness work. Not saying it fully looks like him now, but I think it's certainly enough, and it looks a lot more like him since I added those eyelashes. Bit of darkness up there. All right, cool. I feel better about this now. And let's just see what we can do in terms of his arm's quite chunky. Like he looks quite built here. So add some blacks in here. Turn these off for a second. And all right, that might be everything I kind of need for him. Might just sketch in like a little guideline for the shadow on his face for when I tone this. Bit of blacks out here. All right, I think that just about does it. Maybe a tiny bit of cleanup. Not much. All right, bring these crosshairs back in. Now, I've got some foreground people that I need to draw, and I've got to keep them on a layer because, as I said, there's an A-frame that comes before this, and I'm going to need to move these people around a bit in that A-frame. So at the moment, I'm just drawing the back of this woman. It's very windy here, so apologies if you're hearing that come through the mic. Even though I'm inside, it's extremely windy outside. All right, this is a lot easier, just drawing the back of a woman in a coat. I guess Tom Sizemore must be kind of tall, or at least a lot taller than these extras, because she's full head shorter down here. Kind of a detailed scene, this one. There's a bunch of, these are extras moving around, and there's some people in the background who I'll draw in a minute. But I want to keep the eye on Tom Sizemore, so everyone else I'm going to try to give a much more loose sort of treatment. Adding some folds here, then they're not actually there in reality, but some things work well in a drawing that might not actually be there in reality. That's something you can only learn by doing a whole lot of drawing. All right, that's one woman. I guess on a separate layer, a separate group layer, I will draw this other woman. All right, she's just got this kind of like blank expression. but I really don't want to spend long on this, so I'm just going to try to wing it, keep it quick, simple. She's got her hair up in a like a top bun type thing. It's been a while since I've done one of these too. I've actually been away for the last 2 weeks up in Queensland working on a film. Depending on when you're watching this, that film might still be in production, or maybe it's come out, but I think I'm perfectly allowed to say that it's the film about the Navy SEAL Medal of Honor recipient Mike Thornton. Yeah, it's about the sort of botched mission that earned him that medal. So yeah, I've been drawing a lot of soldiers on beaches, so it's kind of nice to come back and draw something urban like this. I don't know why I'm doing so much cross-hatching. I wouldn't normally do this much cross-hatching when I actually draw boards, but it's just very different drawing from an actual screen grab, like a reference, rather than just like, you know, from my own head when I'm working on an actual job. I don't have a reference for this side of this woman, but I'm just going to wing it. Wearing a little blouse type thing, blouse and a jacket. Somehow made her look a bit too much like a man. That sort of sucks, but let me see if I can just fix that up a bit. It's just one of those days, everything I draw is just like not quite doing what I want it to do. That happens sometimes, but you know what, it doesn't matter. This is just a background extra, and I'm probably going to motion blur her anyway. Let's give her a handbag or something. I think I've given her too much of a square jaw or something. Yeah, that helps a bit. There you go. It's the little things that fix a problem. From Tom Sizemore's eyelashes to this woman's jaw. All right. I'm just kind of making this up. I don't actually have this information from the reference immediately in front of me. And it looks a bit like she's falling over, so I'll fix that. All right, and then we've just got one more sort of moving extra, which I really want to just abbreviate over here. She's right on the edge of frame. You wouldn't normally draw something like this on an actual storyboard, like having someone clipping frame like this, but at least not in this awkward way, but that's what I've got in a screen grab, so. Try to really smash this one out, it doesn't matter at all. It just needs to say a person is there. All right, that's those three. Let's turn this one's opacity back up. Okay, like I say, it's making Tom Sizemore look like a giant. I wonder if, even though it's not actually the case, I might actually raise them up a bit. Which just means extending their lines slightly. All right, that's those people. Now, got some background stuff to do now. Got a guy on the phone right here, sort of awkwardly in front of Tom Sizemore. So I will, I'm going to push him a bit further forward so that he's not like Kawato coming out of Tom Sizemore's stomach. Don't need that. Let's just block all these people in before I might just push him over a bit more like that. Similar to that, we've got a woman sitting right here. Actually, just push her back a bit, about here. She's sort of looking up. And yeah, she's looking up at someone, and that person she's looking up at is a guy right here, sort of leaning over. I'm sort of fixing the, not fixing, but you know, for drawing purposes, I'm fixing the composition a bit, changing it a bit from the actual screen grab. All right, block those people in and just quickly draw them. This guy's got glasses on. Once again, I'll just repeat, I would never normally spend this long on actual storyboards. If I was drawing this on a film that I was working on, I wouldn't be, you know, working from a reference, so I'd just be drawing straight from my mind and I'd be going quite a bit quicker. But here I'm looking back and forth at the reference and trying to make it sure what I draw looks something like that. Plus, this is kind of part of my drawing practice, so in a way I want to stop and, like, you know, draw some faces from these references. The back of this guy's head is really weird in the reference. It's like very square like this. It doesn't look right, so I'm just going to have to change it a little. Looks like he's kind of got his eyebrow up on this call. Here we go, there we go. Now it's got that sort of phone call pose. Can't actually see the phone in the reference, so I'm just going to have to make that up. You can see the cable there. Remember when phones had cables? I do. I'm old. Alright. Okay, that'll do for him. This woman here is like an older, like kind of an elderly Asian woman. We're just seeing the back 3/4 of her face, so I don't have to do much here. Alright. And the chair that she's sitting on. If anyone actually starts watching these videos, feel free to ask questions in the comments, and then that'll give me something to talk about in each video. I can sort of respond to those while I'm drawing the next video, the next frame. Now that I'm back from work, I'm hoping to do these a bit more often. Maybe try to draw one of these every day, but yeah, as far as recording and uploading videos, maybe just do 2 a week or 2 or 3 a week. No matter how much you streamline the video editing process, it always ends up taking a certain amount of time. Alright, I think all the hard drawing is done. Now just a bit of backgroundy stuff. This guy's desk. Looks a bit weird putting that there. We've got another chair here. I'm just going to really let this be rough and loose. Desk continues over here. Actually, I should draw behind these characters a bit, just because they might not be there in the A frame. And when I say A, I mean like, you know, a sequence of frames like AB, not like an A-frame sign that a business puts outside. I need to put them back on so that I can check where I place this pillar. I think that works. Turn them back off, and I think just put a chair behind here, chair back. I think for some reason I don't think you can see what's behind these desks. They're just kind of hidden. All right, so we're almost there in terms of drawing. I think some of these characters would be good to... Usually blacks will draw the eye, but in this case, I'm hoping they'll actually, the eye will not be drawn to these because they're near the edge of the frame, so they will hopefully just look more like a framing for our composition rather than something that's interesting and needs to be looked at. All right. Maybe I'll actually use blacks a bit on these desks. Maybe not fully, but just a bit. On this chair for sure. All I'm trying to do here is like draw the eye to Tom Sizemore And by putting a bit of, making the backs of these desks sort of black, it just adds, tonally it sort of provides an anchor point, hopefully lead the eye to Tom Sizemore. Something like that. All right, cool. Okay, there's some nice sort of long lensy, this whole shot is very long lensy by the way, but there's some nice architecture outside. I don't want to get lost in sort of trying to draw that carefully, but tap into my watercolor landscape skills here, which are limited, but I've done a bit of watercolor landscaping and landscape painting, and can use some of that to just hint at nice architecture. I need to watch the film again. I kind of want to know what the deal is with this bank. I guess the land drops away behind it, and so you've got all these, like, although they come in at sort of ground level on the front side, it's like behind it you've got all these beautiful buildings. Like I said, I really just want to hint at these and let them just push them to the back anyway. Okay, just a few windows and hints of windows here, keeping it real nice and loose. All right, I think that might be most of the drawing done. See what else I can do with pure black. Okay, might make this whole pillar black. All right, kind of happy with that. Do some simple toning now. Nothing much, I just want to give some sense of tone in the background there. Some sense of light coming over this background building. Yeah, that kind of works. Right, now for our background people, don't need much special toning, just a little bit of dark, leaving some highlights on them. You can see I'm not finessing this at all, I'm going pretty fast. When you join a bunch of shapes like this, I heard it called shape welding by James Gurney, the Dinotopia author and painter. He's got some great books on drawing and painting. Joining darks helps anchor things and make the composition look cohesive. I feel like I'm spending way too long on this frame, but you know, that's just how it goes sometimes, especially with these sort of complicated shots with like people everywhere. I'm gonna fill in her hair better. It's better. All right, so with that done, just quickly drop in some tone for this woman on the edge of frame. That can be that simple. For Sizemore, let's see, what does he need? Needs just a bit of shadow in his hair and on his face. Isn't it interesting? The bit of shadows actually helped make it look like him. Okay, don't want to spend too long kind of doing rendering on him, but I think that kind of works. Still feel like I'm making him just look a little too chubby under the chin. All right. Now we've just got our two women. I'm going to turn off some of the background stuff so I can quickly just throw a bit of tone behind these women. Sorry, under the line work. These are the ones that I'm going to need to move when I make the A-frame. So they need to be filled enough that I can move them around a bit. So I'm just going to fill them with a flat tone like this and then turn everything else back on and then work out what their actual tone needs to be. And they are out of order. She should be behind her. There we go. I mean, I could just leave it like that, but I'm having fun, so I'm just going to keep going for fun. All right, and let's make her hair a bit darker. And then the other woman, she can stay pretty dark, I think. Oops. I'll just lighten up her blouse a bit. Yeah, I think that kind of works for me. Bit of light on this side of her face. Yeah. All right, I'm happy with that. Okay, so I think with that background, I'm just going to blur it a bit. I'm going to blur everything here. This is a very long lensy shot. It's either Val Kilmer or De Niro's POV, so it's meant to feel quite long lensy. So even the background stuff here, I'm going to slightly blur it just to keep our eye away from it. Blur. Not too much though, just a touch. And What layer is that front foreground woman on? Oh yeah, she's there. All right, she definitely needs to be blurred quite a bit. Yeah, that much. And these two, I'm going to duplicate their groups because I need them for that A-frame. And I'll just actually combine them, and I'm going to motion blur them sideways. Okay. All right. And we got there in the end. So this is Tom Sizemore looking back at De Niro now. Just to draw the eye, we might add a couple of white highlights. He's got a bit of a highlight on his forehead. And manufacture one there. On his chin here. His nose. Ear. Shirt pops a bit in the actual reference, so I'll add a bit of white there. Yeah, otherwise I think that's about it. Just slightly shave off this actual black line. Yeah, sorry, this one's been quite a bit of a fiddly one, but I still find it fun. I hope it's still somewhat interesting. All right, I don't want to fiddle this to death, so let's just say that's that for that one. I've got my little filter here. And yeah, so a bit more of a detailed one today, but it was fun, enjoyed it. I'm pretty happy with the result. That's another frame from the movie Heat as I press forward with this drawing practice project. I hope you enjoyed that, and yeah, tune in for the next one. Cheers.